Hi, everyone. My name is Cheryl Williams. I'm the Vice President of the Board of the Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County. And on behalf of the board and staff of CAFC, welcome to the 5th Annual Arts and Culture Empowerment Awards presentation. This is also our first virtual ACE Awards ceremony. The ACE Awards celebrate the incredible talent, generosity, and creativity that thrives within Fairfield County. Each of today's award recipients has made a significant impact on the vibrancy of our cultural community. Congratulations to all of this year's recipients. Thank you to our sponsors and our partners for this year's event. Award sponsor Gary Cosgrove and Spinnaker Real Estate Partners. Silver sponsors Bank of America, Cohen & Wolf, and Fairfield County Bank. And a special thank you to Doug Tarola and Fourth Row Films for recording the interviews of the award recipients with James Naughton. As you know, our mission is to promote, support, and connect artists, cultural organizations, and creative businesses. Like most organizations, due to restrictions related to the pandemic, we had to pivot and provide support to our more than 550 members virtually. Led by CAFC Executive Director David Green, we held weekly community calls and professional development webinars with our membership to collaborate and share information about ways to continue to do business. We had the Virtual Innovation Challenge, a contest for the most innovative use of digital medium by artists, and a series of public conversations and workshops for our members to begin to respond to racism and inequity highlighted by the Black Lives Matter movement. We also want to thank our donors who have assisted us during these challenging times. Connecticut Office of the Arts, Connecticut Humanities, the Meek Foundation, the Schnurmacher Foundation, and many individuals and businesses. Now I would like to introduce our Master of Ceremonies, Tony Award-winning theater, film, and television actor and director. He has been a champion of CAFC for many years, as well as an incredible advocate for the arts, and in particular, arts education, Mr. James Naughton.
Good evening. Hello, everybody. And thank you very much for that lovely introduction, Cheryl. I now have the opportunity and the privilege of introducing someone who's been very important to the Cultural Alliance. She's going to give us a live message. Her name is Liz Shapiro, and she is the head of the Connecticut Office of the Arts and Director of Arts Preservation and Museums at the Department of Economic and Community Development. Liz has been a good friend of the Cultural Alliance through the years, running the Connecticut League of History organizations. And she's been a champion of the work that we do here since she took up her new position with the Office of the Arts in May 2019. So welcome. Hello, Liz.
Hi, James. Well, hello, everyone. I'm delighted to be here tonight in such outstanding company, surrounded by so many talented people. On behalf of the Connecticut Office of the Arts, I'd like to recognize the Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County as a strong and valued member of a network of statewide arts organizations that partner with us to ensure that every person in Connecticut is touched by the arts. Whether an artist, an arts organization staff member, an art student, an art teacher, or like me, a person inspired to dabble in many aspects of the arts just to satisfy my soul. The Cultural Alliance is the feet on the street for the COA in Fairfield County, an area rich in arts and cultural offerings with an outstanding variety of both artists and arts experiences. Together, we touch artists, organizations, and audiences. One way the Cultural Alliance does this is to reinforce the intersection of arts, culture, economy, and community. We know that without arts and culture, communities wither. The arts and culture are not window dressing. They are foundational to strong and vibrant communities. The recent virtual candidate forum hosted by the Cultural Alliance under the auspices of the National Create the Vote campaign is one way that we can let our leaders know that we will vote for candidates who stand with us in this belief. I would be remiss if I didn't speak to the important conversations that the Cultural Alliance has been hosting to deeply examine what it means to take collective action against racism and inequity. I've been fortunate enough to be involved in some of the learning, listening, and discussion during the Reimagining Arts and Culture series, hosting conversations about race, power, and privilege in the arts, and empathy in times of crisis, and what taking action means is long overdue and critically necessary, and it is brave. The Connecticut Office of the Arts is committed to working with organizations as they reimagine the path and take action to transform past ways of thinking and move towards creative justice for all. This work is personally important to me, and I laud you for doing it. I could say a lot more about the Cultural Alliance. I could say that the e-blasts are timely and responsive, that the programs and services that the Alliance has hosted in response to the COVID crisis have been outstanding examples of how a regional organization can assist its constituents. I could mention how the Cultural Alliance partners broadly with statewide service organizations like the Connecticut League of History Organizations, Connecticut Humanities and Preservation CT. I could say how very wonderful David Green has been as a leader and how very valuable as a colleague. I could say a lot, but tonight is a very special evening, and I know that everyone is excited to get on with the program. So thank you all for listening and for supporting the work of our partner, the Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County. Back to you, James.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you very much. Before we get to the awards part of this evening, which we usually do on the other end of the day, it usually happens at 7:30 in the morning down on the shore. And hopefully we won't be needing coffee as much or as badly as we have in the past in the mornings. This might be a nice way to go. But before we get to the awards, we have 5 very distinguished awards and awardees that you're going to meet tonight. We have a guest speaker who is also very distinguished. She's a Tony Award-winning actress and activist. She's a resident of Fairfield and someone that I've known for quite a long time. She won the Tony for her portrayal of the Wicked Witch in Into the Woods, and she's also starred on Broadway in Joe Egg, in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Nick and Nora. She appears in her one-woman shows at Feinstein's 54 Below and elsewhere. She's the daughter of Let's Make a Deal's longtime host, Monty Hall. She's married to a wonderful actor friend named Chris Sarandon. And she's become quite an accomplished tango dancer. And I think that she actually competes as a tango dancer. She got started many, many years ago on the stage with me. In 1977, she appeared in a Broadway musical, as did I, in Cy Coleman's I Love My Wife. And she was playing my wife. So here are a few clips from some of Joanna's other work on stage and screen, and then you will get a chance to hear from and welcome Joanna Gleason.
What was that? Was that me? Was that him? Did a prince really kiss me? And kiss me and kiss me? And did I kiss him back?
Had enough of Scrabble. Wanna lose my fears like devil. Married novel meets married novel. Seeking love.
Gosh, listen, I've got to tell you the truth here. I'm a little uneasy about this.
I know it's a lot to ask.
Well, I feel for you. I do. I'm going to cry. You want my husband to have a child with you?
Yeah, don't answer now. Just, take it home and think about it for a while.
You leave here! You leave with what you've got! Nothing! Nothing! You understand me?
So it's down to these 2. Nancy, I know you like this one, and I think I agree. Rachel, what do you think?
Well, that one is pretty, but I just love this fabric. Sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry. That's part of your job here to give your opinions. And then I take credit for them. I'm kidding.
And the winner is Joanna Gleason!
Good evening. First of all, I want to congratulate all the honorees tonight for their incredible work, for making art, and I would like to thank everybody who enables art to be made. I was asked to speak about how essential the arts were to me in my life, and I started thinking about that time long before I was emotionally articulate. I was just a kid before I could even name my feelings, and how confusing it was for me. We moved many times when I was young, from Canada to the United States and from one coast to the other, and I was always the new kid. I made some friends along the way, but I spent a lot of time just looking in the mirror. I would recite poems, song lyrics, I would read plays, everything into the mirror. My mirror image was a constant friend. And about the fourth move, I was reluctant to make new friends, thinking, well, maybe we'd just be moving again. Turned out not to be the case. My folks lived in that last house for 55 years. But my nervous system was by then hardwired. I was hardwired to feel alone, to feel lonely. When we lived in Canada and New York, I would wait for winter. I would long for it because I could skate on the pond in Eastchester, where my tap dancing dentist lived, or I could skate at the bottom of Broadview Avenue near New Rochelle High School. And on the ice, I'm 8, 9, 10 years old, I would narrate out loud. I was in the Olympics, and I imagined I had on a very sparkly, amazing short dress, and I would sing the music to which I did my routine, usually something Russian and moody, and I imagined I was beautiful. Now, in truth, I could only skate backwards and forwards and maybe do a little bit of a turn, but in my mind, I was free and soaring. I had a vision of myself apart from school or family. I was expressing myself in a way that I couldn't at home or at school. I could be emotional on the ice. I could talk back to my parents. I could accuse the teacher of deliberately humiliating me by having me put math problems on the board, and she did. And as I got older, even as I heard my dad yelling, "Don't skate out too far, the ice is thin, and danger, danger," I wanted nothing more than to take off to the far end of the lake. Skate all the way to freedom. I mean, in my family history, we were told often, Cossacks chasing relatives from their homes, so it wasn't hard to imagine that I was being pursued. Men in big fur hats and barking dogs. And in my pre-adolescent mind, I was skating away from oppression, from loneliness, from being the new kid, and from the fear that every other kid already knew the answers to the math problems, and I prayed I wouldn't be called on. I was embarrassed a lot when called on, fear of speaking out. But on the ice, I could skate away from the tension in our house when Dad would be working hundreds or thousands of miles away, leaving Mom to raise us on her own, and the tension when he returned until balance was restored. I was young, but I was aware of all the shifts. I had developed a rich imaginary life during that time, and I had to. It was my comfort. But the greatest thing about an imaginary life is that it's portable. When we landed in California, I met Mr. John Ingle, the high school drama teacher, and everything changed. First of all, we had a high school that had a drama department, and they put on a first-rate play and musical full out every year. I was lucky. I got to be in a lot of them. We were expected to do well in school and expected to read 10 plays a week, 10 plays a week, while taking our other classes. I got to play character parts. I painted scenery. I dyed kimonos for our production of The Mikado, and then I went on stage that night and played the spinster love-spurned Katisha. I also played the spinster love-spurned Verena in a play by Truman Capote, and I asked Mr. Ingle if I would ever play someone sweet and pretty, and he said, "Yeah, okay, sure, when you're older, but they're not a challenge. All the good roles are the character roles, pretty or not. Stop looking in the mirror. Start looking out the window. Learn about others, and you'll work forever." Bless him. Bless the teachers who open the windows for the shy, inarticulate kids, the lonely kids, to kids at the most confusing, overwhelming stage of life, to the ones whose home circumstances are so loaded with real-world problems that they can't even hear the arts beckon. There's always a home for them here in the arts, but they don't know it. You know it. The honorees of tonight and past nights know it. The Cultural Alliance knows it. And you open the windows and the doors and you invite them in, possibly changing the trajectory of their lives. My folks were two extraordinary people, but they spoke the language of, we love you, stop hitting your brother, do your homework, clean your room, call your grandparents. I spoke another language. I found myself, for the first time really, understood when it was time to meet actors and dancers and painters and writers, musicians, costume designers, set builders. I was understood by the ticket takers, the photographers, the filmmakers, editors, and the teachers who taught them all. We spoke a shared language, and I was home. I had found, in the arts, a permanent homeland. Wherever there was a chance to make art, I was home. My husband Chris and I have a lot of kids and a lot of grandchildren, and like all of us, we want them to be safe and healthy and happy, but also we want them to be wise in their choices in life, and wisdom can only come from experience. Out there in the world, there are experiences we don't want them to have, but have them they might, and hopefully wisdom may follow. But now, isolated and anxious, the bulk of their experiences are virtual. This is not experience. The thrill of standing in an art gallery and feeling the colors, feeling the vibrations, that feeling like no other when you're sitting in the audience as the curtain rises on a concert or a play or a musical, or sitting in a movie theater, even just hanging with friends. We're missing the feel of those experiences, how they rearrange our molecules, sending chills up and down our spine, making the little hairs on the back of our neck stand up. But we will someday. What made me really ready for adulthood, ready to make wise choices, was not my limited exposure to the real world, but that boundaryless world of the theater. In characters, playing characters, I could be a rule breaker, a heartbreaker. I could drive 100 miles an hour. I could stay out all night. I could wield a crossbow, console a friend, profess my love, reveal my broken heart. I could be old or young, smart or silly. I could make it across the frozen lake safely. And because these characters lived on stage, they were being experienced live by all of us. We were interacting. We related to each other. We were connected, listening, and responding in real time. The virtual world has made our experiences flat, incomplete. Our work, in many cases, has gotten smaller. Our reach shortened. It's a longer distance to reach someone now, even though they are nose pressed to the screen. And reaching others is of great purpose as an artist. We are so dislocated and disconnected from each other, so polarized that I feel it's a responsibility of the artist to articulate the world for those who can't, to sing for those who are afraid to show them who we are, and by so doing, open a window for us to see each other. Every young artist, all the young kids that I teach, they want to be seen and recognized for their talents, and they want applause, of course. But we've been stuck looking into our mirrors, looking at ourselves, rearranging the lighting for our Zoom calls, guilty. And now is the time to look out the window, see the others, make people who are not artists, who do not speak our language, see themselves, and know that they are seen. The arts educators can teach us how to be within our various disciplines, how to learn and excel within them, but not how to be happy in life. Doing for others is the highest quantifiable component of personal happiness. This has been measured. This was practically our family motto, do for others. Got that from my dad and mom. The teachers already do that. The young artist and the old have the power now to join hands and extend the reach to the others looking for the comfort of that home in the arts. We are on thin ice these days, but we can bring them and each other safely across. Thank you. Thank you for the work you do, and thank you for letting me be part of this wonderful evening.
And now we are going to meet the 5 awardees of this year's ACE Awards. They are a very, very, very interesting, distinguished group, as they have been, I think, in years past. The way in which we went about this year, because we don't have an event to which they can come, we met at the Fairfield Museum Art Museum and History Museum in Fairfield, Connecticut 2 weeks ago. And we shot interviews with them. And you get a chance to have a conversation and listen to these folks, all of whom have made tremendous contributions to our society. And that's what's going to happen one after the other for about the next 25 or 30 minutes. So let's start with, but before I do that, let me mention that whether it's one of these folks and their organizations, their arts organization or cultural organization, or one that's close to your heart, today is an opportunity for you to make a donation, because the arts, as we know, have been hit very, very hard. Everybody's out of work on Broadway and in theaters and in the concert halls. So if you want to do that, today would be a good time. And at the end of this program, there will be on the screen an address, a way for you to hit a button and make a donation, make a promise of a donation. And so with that warning, let's start with our first awardee. And the first one is someone we've all been familiar with for many years. He's made a great contribution to art. He is Mr. Arts in Fairfield County. The first one is Miggs Burroughs.
Well, and now it's time to introduce our first award. It's for an artist, and it recognizes a creative individual or group in Fairfield County who has demonstrated a commitment to artistic excellence, as well as to working for access, awareness, and/or advocacy for the arts and culture community. Our awardee this year is Miggs Burroughs, a graphic artist whose logos and brochures you will have seen all over Fairfield County and beyond. He's well known for his lenticular photographs that explore the ways the world and its people change and transition. He is a founding member of the Artists Collective of Westport. He was the first artist in residence at the Westport Library. He's the first to help out other artists and other arts organizations in need. And he has been named Volunteer of the Year by several local nonprofits. This award was sponsored by Gary Cosgrave. Welcome, Miggs.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Now let's talk about art and talk about some of the things that I think, looking at your work over the years, that come to mind. Time passing, relationships, all the stuff that art is supposed to be good at expressing. I'm interested in that, because in a lot of the things that you have done that I've seen, not that I've seen them all, there is that quality of, so these are things that you think about. And I think let's have a conversation about how those are the kinds of things that art can address.
Yeah, passage of time, transitions have always, the tiniest, and I guess actors have to, you understand this and work with it too, is these small choices you make that change your whole life, and these transitions. So the first one I did, I think, was my mother. She was 97 years old, and she showed me for the first time a picture of her high school yearbook picture, and everyone thinks it's Ingrid Bergman. She was beautiful, and in those days, high school pictures were taken by real professionals. And I said, how do I convey that the beauty is still there? She's 97, but it's the same person with just a different mask on, and vice versa. Anyway, so that started me with this lenticular process where you can see two images.
Yet you have spent your career, life really, as a graphic artist, right? Yeah. I mean, you've done stuff, you've designed the Westport flag and a U.S. postage stamp and how many? Four Time covers?
You got it right. Some
Time
people,
magazine covers?
Thank you for, yeah. I get people that say, oh, I heard you designed 72 postage stamps and 600 Time covers. No, it's one stamp and 4 covers, but you got it right.
Yeah,
perfectly right.
and a bunch of other stuff that's like that, and some of it's in the Smithsonian, I understand.
Yeah, the Time cover is in the one Time cover is in the Smithsonian because it was the Time cover they used for Nixon. It's the first editorial Time magazine had ever published, and it's in existence. They'd never done an editorial, and they ran an editorial for Nixon to resign, asking Nixon to resign. And so my cover it's called Nixon's Jury, and it was 12 kind of anonymous Americans as the jury. And so that made it historic. Not my artwork didn't make it historic, but that issue happened to be historic.
Well, you mentioned the fact that we've been known, Westport's been known as an arts community for a long, long time, 100 years, right, or more. And it really was, and because there were a lot of artists who lived here, and other luminaries in the arts.
Performers,
like the Newmans and people like that, and performers and writers. So maybe that's the thing to think about, trying to restore and keep hold of.
Yeah, well, I apprenticed at the Westport Playhouse also in high school, and now coming full circle, the Playhouse, the Westport Playhouse, which I know you're involved in, and the Newmans heavily are hosting the Artist Collective of Westport. We can't go back in the barn yet, but we're using the rehearsal barn as our exhibit space, and it's kind of a nice synchronicity. Is that the right use of the word? We're just here's a performance space, combining with an art space.
Have you got something you're working on now, in addition to, or instead of, or beyond your recent stuff with lenticular photography?
No, my biggest project was an installation that was headed for the United Nations, and COVID, it just cut it off. And they're saying it'll happen in 2021. So I did a big lenticular installation, 30 pieces, 30 individuals, doing sign language. The beauty of lenticular is you can have 2 or 3 movements. So I didn't teach myself, I had somebody help me understand the signs to an Emily Dickinson poem called, if I could stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. And so each person does one word from the poem, 30 pieces, 30 signs, 30 words to the poem or phrases. Thank you.
And by the way, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And the best part for me is I designed the award. Now I get
That's right, you did.
But the library deserves a lot of credit. Mike Altus, if I can give him a plug, he 3D printed these. I just did a 2-dimensional thing. I mean, you look at it straight on, and he extruded it and figured out the whole 3D dimensions of it in the library, at the library's makerspace. Made that happen.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, my pleasure. The Citizen Award recognizes an individual who has contributed significantly to the enrichment and prosperity of arts and culture in Fairfield County through volunteerism, financial support, and/or advocacy. This year, the award goes to a couple, Bernicestine McLeod and Harold Bailey, who work as a proactive philanthropic team that know the critical role that culture plays in developing a rich and diverse community. They met at Brown University and are now both Brown trustees emeriti. Both have leadership roles in Team Westport, Harold as chair and Bernicestine as secretary. Harold is a board member of the Westport Country Playhouse, among many other boards. And Bernicestine, who has also served on many boards, is currently the indefatigable board chair of Bridgeport's Mary and Eliza Freeman Center for History and Community. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
For all the good works. Tell us about some of these things. Team Westport, you've got something coming up next week.
Yeah, Team Westport was started because of an incident in town, which I won't get into that helped Bernstein suggested to Diane Farrell back in 2003 that the town needed to have some kind of a task force or something to take a look at the issue of race and the town's position on race. Bottom line is, when we came out of it, we decided the town needed to have some kind of an organization that would, as opposed to a white paper, that would get involved with all the other key organizations in town and try to encourage and work through them to be sure that there was at least one initiative a year that was focused on our issues. And our issues were race, religion, ethnicity, LGBTQI issue. So,
what's on the agenda for the next 5 or 10 years?
I want to see some action come out of all this excitement about knowledge. We say there's got to be knowledge, and from the knowledge you can actually get engaged, and from the engagement there can be some empowerment. But what has to happen after the knowledge is some address of policy change that's really going to make a difference. It's great to have all these wonderful statements and resolutions about alignment with Black Lives Matter or racial justice and so on. But we've got to then go really do the hard work of looking at laws, looking at structures, looking at organizations, and getting real change made to get rid of some of these hurdles.
What else would you like to leave us thinking about?
The Mary and Eliza Freeman Center.
Oh, yes.
History and Community.
Yeah, I know about that in Bridgeport.
Yes.
Yeah, the oldest houses, right? Ever owned by Black people in Connecticut, or?
Well, at least in that area, Little Liberia, they were freed.
Right.
Like people, they were built in 1848, and the history of the.
And there's a museum, right? It's part of that.
There will be. Maisa Tisdale was able to, with a lot of other people, a lot of support, save the 2 houses that belong to the sisters Mary and Eliza Freeman. So we are embarking upon a restoration project.
And tell us if people were interested in finding out more about that, where should they go, what would they do? And if you're going to have a fundraiser, where would they find out about that?
Okay, well, we're just sending out the invitations, but our website is www.freemancenterbpt.org.
Start with Freeman Center in
Freeman
Bridgeport,
Center,
right?
and BPT is Bridgeport.com.
Yeah.
.org.
Okay.
And we are now about to embark on a project that will continue to.
The digital timeline.
Yes.
Okay. I'll get to that, but I just want to say one more thing about the Freeman House, a couple of nuggets here. The richest person everybody knows who was in Bridgeport back in the 1800s.
P.T. Barnum.
P.T. Barnum, who was the second richest person. Okay, so it was Mary.
Yeah, I think it was Mary Freeman.
Mary Freeman.
Really?
Mary Freeman. This was a Black woman.
Yeah.
Now, how did that happen? It happened because that whole area of Bridgeport was the equivalent of Martha's Vineyard for Black people in the 1800s. People used to come from all over the country to come there. There were hotels, there were hospitals, there were stores, there was a library, there was all kinds of facilities just for Black people.
Was that called Little Liberia?
It's called Little Liberia.
Yes, and we're celebrating the 200th year of Little Liberia, and that's the foundation for our fundraiser.
But on this digital timeline, finally at Brown, one of the things we started to pioneer up there was, instead of writing a book and writing things down about the history of the progression of Black people at Brown. And for instance, when I was there were 7 Black people in my class. I think there were 11 in yours?
Yes.
A couple of years ahead of me.
Male and female, yes.
And in your class, I think there were, 2? Maybe 2.
Maybe
I think
more.
so, maybe 3 or 4, but that's the level. We walked in 1968, and that flipped by the class of 1973, there were 100 that at least been admitted now, and then we got matriculants. Most of the kids matriculated. We walked out with the idea that we'd end up with a class that looked like the percentage of African Americans in the outside community, which is now about 12%. We just made that number.
Really?
And so we wanted to have a way of showcasing that for the university. And so about 5 years ago, we put a digital timeline together. So you can actually go and look at a date see what happened at that time and move on up. And we did it. It was kind of a nice exhibit, and now what we're looking at with the help of the Brown Library is to make this permanent and to continue to add artifacts to it and to continue to add data points as we go along. And that'll be a model for probably other groups inside the university.
That's great.
Yes, that's one of our current
I want to see
projects,
that.
but-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you go right now and you do
Is it Black Said Brown?
Black Said Brown, just put it in.
Oh.
Put it into Google and it'll take you right there.
Well, listen, it's really been a pleasure talking with you. Congratulations. You certainly do deserve this award. You know, I've been associated with this organization and doing this event, kind of emceeing the awards ceremony, the ACE Awards, every year for the last, I don't know how many years we've been doing it. And so I've seen a lot of bios on that a lot of people have come up with. But boy, I haven't seen anything like what the two of you have accomplished and been after and been up to the benefit of a lot of people and a lot of children and a lot of communities. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Jim. It's very kind.
Yeah, well, I mean it. Next up, Corporate Award. Our Corporate Award recognizes a business that has helped to excite the interest and support of arts and culture in Fairfield County through encouragement, exposure, and patronage, or that has made a significant contribution to the economic development of Fairfield County with an emphasis on elevating the creative sector. The award goes to the SoNo Collection, the new mall in Norwalk owned by Brookfield Properties that opened last year with a commitment to support the arts, culture, and community in Fairfield County. It has demonstrated that commitment, from initially seeking input and feedback from the arts and cultural community to hosting ongoing gatherings to explore collaborations, and has set a great example of corporate responsibility. Its current Art at SoNo program, including a wide array of local, national, and international artists, is a testament to its creative thinking and expansive support for the arts. Sponsored by Spinnaker Real Estate Partners. And here today to accept the award and to tell us about the SoNo Collection is Matthew Seebeck. Hello, Matthew.
Hi.
Did I pronounce your name right?
Absolutely.
Well, that's good.
I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Tell us about what the SoNo Collection is, what the genesis of that was, and this idea, because I think it's a little bit unique. You are a corporation and you have a real estate all over the world, and yet you have some kind of really interesting and wonderful commitment to the arts.
Absolutely. Thank you again for setting me up that way. Makes my job easy. But you know, the SoNo Collection is a brand new shopping center, probably the last enclosed shopping center to be built for quite some time. And you know, we chose Norwalk, Connecticut to build, not only because we felt like it was a market that could use probably the last market for a new retail shopping experience, and one that our key tenant relationships really wanted to get involved in. Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom really love Southwestern Connecticut. We were able to use those partnerships to justify our build.
The anchor stores.
Yes. But not only, that wasn't the only reason why we chose Norwalk. Southwestern Connecticut has a rich and vibrant history, and not only that, there's great communities in Southwestern Connecticut. And one of our mandates as Brookfield Properties Retail, and specifically with a new build with the SoNo Collection, is to establish great community relationships.
And some of these pieces that are being painted right now as we speak, or have just been completed, are being given, is that right, to the Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County to auction off?
Absolutely. It's an honor for us to have those, to commission those pieces to be painted so that people can experience them, but also to donate them here to the Cultural Alliance so that they can be auctioned off, and really continue to give lots of different people joy.
So what's going into that space, that communal space, after this art project?
Yeah, we have lots of different plans for engagement through those areas. Now, COVID has changed a lot of what we intended to do. I think we had really hoped to see these as different separate spaces for people to engage, whether it be a live performance or whether it be just a place to gather or to get some work done. And now we're facilitating that as safely as we can, given the current conditions. I think next for us is actually to bring back a safe holiday experience, which will also incorporate some art. We have an interactive bell, which is all based on motion capture and really allows children to, much like the piano from Big, they can run around and make all different kinds of noise, and we're excited to ring in the holidays that way.
Well, thank you very much for what you guys are doing. Good luck to you this season. And thanks particularly for the gifts that you've given to the Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County.
Thank you very much, Eric.
And hopefully those paintings will sell for a lot of money.
That's what I hope, but they deserve it, honestly.
And it'll fill the coffers of the Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County.
Thanks very much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Our Educator Award recognizes an individual, nonprofit, or creative business that has made a substantial impact on the arts and cultural education of students and citizens of Fairfield County through innovative approaches to programming, access, and/or advocacy. The award goes to Elizabeth Gaynor, dancer, teacher, arts advocate, and a pivotal figure in the performing arts in Connecticut for more than 50 years. In 1970, she founded the Elizabeth Gaynor Studio, a single class for 5-year-olds in a small studio in her home. Over the years, this grew into the Connecticut Dance School, now widely known for its excellent standard of dance technique. Offering scholarships to area children and outstanding performances for the public schools in the greater Bridgeport area, the school has provided thousands of local children the opportunity to experience the joy of a live dance performance. Welcome, Elizabeth, and congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell us, how did you become the founder of a dance school that has lasted for so long and has had so many distinguished graduates?
Well, because I'd always worked with children. I'd always been teaching. An older daughter had taken some classes locally, and I wasn't completely decided where the best place was, and decided I have taught so many things. I love to dance. I like to work with children. Let's go.
And something happened that changed when you went from teaching a few 5-year-olds in your home to institutionalizing.
Oh, well, it happened very slowly and gradually. The next year I had 2 classes. The 5-year-olds were now 6-year-olds. And so a new group came in, and in about that time we began to outgrow the little home studio. And moved. The history of the school has been many moves.
Well, in reading about what you have accomplished, one of the things that struck me was that in addition to teaching dance for 50 years, you've made it available with scholarships to people who didn't have the means to pay. And you've also taught children with all kinds of different disabilities.
Yes, well, I used to include them in a class, but there seem to be more now, and we have a special class at the school, Dance for All Abilities, we call it, and they have various handicaps, but 2 trained teachers who are doing a wonderful job.
I remember when I was a young parent looking at our little teensy babies bouncing to the rhythm of music that was playing in the house. And I was told that dance was perhaps our first artistic expression. Do you think that's true?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I do. It's instinctive. Mothers who call the school, the first thing they say usually is, well, my child dances all over the house. She's born to dance.
And you've had graduates from your school who've become professional dancers.
Oh, yes, indeed. Our most famous graduate has been principal dancer at Ballet West for 15 years now. She's near retirement, a Fairfield girl, incidentally.
Wonderful. You must need to raise money to be able to pay for scholarships for people. How do you go about that? Is there a...
Oh, yes. Unfortunately, even our tuition don't quite cover our costs. So we have, our biggest moneymaker was the Nutcracker, which unfortunately we cannot do this year, and that we did at Fairfield University. And that would bring in considerable money to help us go through the year. And we would have a benefit performance in the spring. Some of our older students would dance, but it wasn't, there was also a big party and an auction, and that made money for us too.
So if there are people in the community who'd like to donate to your organization, where would they send the money?
Oh, to Connecticut Dance School.
Yes, where is that?
And we're in Fairfield. We're located on just off Commerce Drive.
Mm-hmm. So they can Google the Connecticut Dance School and find your address?
We have a website.
And stick a check in the mail.
Indeed.
That would be wonderful.
Indeed.
Well, thank you very much and congratulations to you. Our Educator of the Year, Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County, to Ms. Elizabeth Gaynor.
Thank you.
Our Nonprofit Award recognizes an individual, nonprofit, or creative business that has made a substantial impact on the arts and cultural education of students and citizens of Fairfield County through innovative approaches to programming, access, and/or advocacy. The award goes to Keys, Kids Empowered by Your Support, founded in 2004 by jazz musician, composer, and music educator Rob Silvan in a hallway at Columbus School in Bridgeport with 4 piano students. Keys offers music education to Bridgeport students whose schools cannot provide it and whose families cannot afford it. Keys now operates in 25 Bridgeport schools, providing free one-to-one music education to over 600 Bridgeport children every year, in school, after school, and through the summer. Keys believes a well-rounded education, including arts education, is a vital means of breaking the cycle of poverty. Rob, congratulations on your award.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
I know a little bit about your organization. I'm kind of fascinated because I think that the guiding idea was to bring music and the ability to play music to children who don't have the wherewithal to pay for it, and the benefits that come with that. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, sure. The area particularly that we're focused on is Bridgeport. So in our mission statement, it's providing one-to-one and group musical instruction to underserved school children in Bridgeport. So we've been asked to go other places, and the whole idea is that Bridgeport just needs more and more and more. And we've been at it for 16 years now, and there's no end in sight.
You're in 25 schools now, is that right?
Yeah.
And you started in a hallway in a stairwell?
Yeah, that first day, I didn't know that it was going to lead to all this. I just came up to help a friend at Columbus School and got started with 4 kids And what I learned that day was that a lot of people wanted to do it. A lot of kids were lining up. And there was great enthusiasm for it. And so that began the Keys waiting list, and it's still running.
Well, talk a little bit, if you would, about the benefits of arts education and particularly musical education for children, because there's all sorts of research that's being done. I have a couple of old statistics that I've trotted out over the years that I think are sort of favorites. One of which is that children with 4 years of arts education actually are 5 times less likely to drop out of school, and are also likely to score 100 points higher on SAT tests.
Well, basically, there are measurable differences in brain function, particularly how it affects a child's math and English and reading academics, but it's also good for the heart, good for self-esteem, good for relating with other people. I mean, an article that I love that I read recently was that lots of people like to hire music majors, not necessarily because they're doing music, but because they know how to work with people, they know how to work alone, they know how to stay on a project and finish it, and they know how to listen. So there's a lot of reasons why music is good for you. So we have kids graduating that are going on into music, and kids graduating high school and going into college and graduating college that are not going into music, but that have been served by it.
Well, I would think that music is one of the things that might actually be able to be taught pretty well on Zoom classes.
I think the one-to-one thing works very well online. You know, you not that much is lost about the one-to-one mentorship that happens. There are some technical things about teaching music online, you just have to work around them. But essentially, the relationship continues to build online. And a lot of music is about the relationship. It's about learning from somebody that cares about you. So the big thing in Bridgeport is that you have people teaching one-to-one. It's not that common there. So they get to have that relationship with an adult. And from what I understand, a strong relationship with an adult keeps kids in school.
Well, I think it's a wonderful program. Before you go, is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you'd like to plug, or would you like to tell people where to send money in case they want to contribute to your organization?
Glad you asked me that.
Yeah.
Sure. We have our website is keysmusic.org.
Keys.
Music.org. And there's all the information about our organization there and a chance to help out if that's what you'd like to do.
Well, thanks a lot for coming. Congratulations.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, I don't know about you, but I love being a part of this organization, and I love being present at these ACE Awards because you meet so many people that are inspiring, whether it's Keys or the Connecticut Dance Company or Team Westport, or there are just so many people doing so many wonderful things for other people in our community. And so I encourage you, whether you want to send money to the Cultural Alliance, or if you want to send it specifically to any one of these organizations, please do, because obviously there are all these children in Bridgeport, 600 or something at a time per year, who are benefiting from an awful lot of good works. And it's going to help these kids and help the communities and help their families. So it's a good way in a time like this when we're all sort of challenged to get out of our house or get out of our little worlds and do something wonderful for somebody else. So this concludes our 5th and first virtual ACE Awards celebration. I think you'll agree with me that these were some inspiring and impressive awardees. living right here among us and working among us in Fairfield County. And we are all richer for their presence and their inspired hard work. In closing, I want to thank especially Mr. Doug Tarola, founder and owner of Fourth Row Films, and his team for filming our interviews of the awardees with such professionalism. Doug, it was fun. We had a good afternoon a couple of weeks ago. Thank you also to the Fairfield Museum and History Center for allowing us to use that really marvelous meeting room. If you haven't been there, you should go and check it out, Fairfield Museum and History Center. I want to thank especially the board and the staff of the Cultural Alliance of Fairfield County for bringing us all together and helping us realize, especially in these strange and difficult times of isolation and lockdown, which I'm afraid we have more of coming at us this winter, how much we need each other and how the power of the arts and culture inspires us and will help us see it through. Thank you to our sponsors, Gary Cosgrave and Spinnaker Real Estate Partners, for sponsoring the awards, and for our business sponsors, Bank of America, Cohen & Wolf, and Fairfield County Bank. And finally, thank you, all of you who are out there, who tuned in, who registered, and who do every year, every month, every week, support something that we all think is very, very important. And that is culture and arts here in America. Oh, and tonight, after we sign off, we're going to all have to make a decision. Do we watch the New York Giants or do we watch the debate? I'll leave you with that. Good night, everybody.